Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Hatha Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Scha Om Jnana Timanandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Shakshurum Nidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurkam Guruganara Sisha Sambhoshitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bijapranam Devam Divyatanam Suchandavaranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadika Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Vanditam Shivaram Marika Sharanam Yashishvara Shridaram Vanshakopatarubyascha Kripasindubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahamaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. And this is Madhya-lila chapter 14, performance of the Vrindaban pastimes. Gora Pasyan Atma Vrindai Sri Lakshmi Vijayotsavam Shutva Gopi Rasolasam Rishta Premna Nanarta Saha. Accompanied by his personal devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the festival known as Lakshmi Vijayotsav. There he discussed the super excellent love of the gopis. Just by hearing about them, he became very pleased and danced in great ecstatic love for the Lord. So this occurs 5 days after Ratha Yatra. Jaya Jaya Gaurachandra Sri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Danya. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Gaurachandra. All glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Sri Advaita Acharya, who is so exalted. Jaya Jaya Shivasadi Gora Bhaktagan Jaya Shota Gana Jara Gora Pranadan. All glories to all the devotees headed by Srivas Thakur. All glories to the readers who have taken Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their life and soul. Emata Prabhu Achan Primara Aveshe Henakale Prataparudra Korila Pravayashe. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was resting in ecstatic love, Maharaj Prataparudra entered the garden. Sarvabhauma Upadeshe Chare Rajabesh Ekala Vaishnava Beshe Korila Pravesh. Following Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's instructions, the king had given up his royal dress. He now entered the garden in the dress of a Vaishnava. So this was the plan made by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He told the king not to despair, and when the Ratha Yatra was happening, then after dancing for so long in ecstasy, Mahaprabhu would enter into a garden and take rest, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, then you will go into the garden and you will not have your royal dress. You'll be dressed as a Vaishnava, and you'll read to Mahaprabhu the 5 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto that deal with Krishna and the gopis and dancing with the gopis. And I believe it's 5 chapters in the Rasa-lila. Sababhaktir Agya Nila Joda Hata Hoya Prabhupada Dori Pare Sahasa Korea Maharaj Prataparudra was so humble that with folded hands he first took permission from all the devotees. Then with great courage he fell down and touched the lotus feet of the Lord. Anki Mudi Prabhu Preme Bhumete Shayan Nripati Nai Punye Kore Para Samvahan. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lay on the raised platform with his eyes closed in ecstatic love and emotion, the king very expertly began to massage his legs. Rasa-lila shlokapade koranastavan jayate jayati te dikam ajaya korana patan. The king began to recite verses about the Rasa-lila from Srimad Bhagavatam. He recited the chapter beginning with the words jayati te dikam. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 31, constitute what is known as the Gopi Gita. Shunite, shunite, Prabhu, santosha apar, bo bole Prabhu, bole bar bar. When Mahaprabhu heard these verses, he was pleased beyond limits. And he said again and again, go on reciting, go on reciting. Tava katamritam shloka raja jay padila ute prema veshe Prabhu alingana koila. As soon as the king recited the verse beginning with the words Tava katamritam, the Lord arose in ecstatic love and embraced him. Tume mora dile bahu amoya ratan mora kechu dite nahi dilun alingan. Upon hearing the verse recited by the king, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have given me invaluable gems, but I have nothing to give you in return. Therefore, I am simply embracing you. Itaboli se shloka para bar bar, duijanar, ange kampa netre, Jaladhar. After saying this, Mahaprabhu began to recite the same verse again and again. Both the king and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were trembling, and tears were flowing from their eyes. Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavibir iditam kamasapaham shravana mangalam shrimad atatam bhuvi grinanti Jai Burida Janaha. My Lord, the nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those who are always aggrieved in this material world. These narrations are transmitted by exalted personalities, and they eradicate all sinful reactions. Whoever hears these narrations attains all good fortune. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers. In this verse that the king is reciting to Mahaprabhu, it says that all these great benefits are being transmitted by Burida Jan. And this word's Burida means very generous, most beneficent, or very generous, very merciful jana. Burida jana, by the most munificent or generous persons. So the devotees, they're the ones who are spreading these messages, which are giving benefit to all. Now the verse is from Mahaprabhu's Dancing with the Gopis, but under the instructions of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he told the king when Mahaprabhu was resting in the garden, because the king didn't want to meet with Maharaj Prataparudra, because he said he's just a materialist. Why do I want to meet with a king? People will think I'm trying to curry some benefits. So, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told the king when Mahaprabhu was dancing in Ratha Yatra, he'll become tired, he'll go into a garden. Then you enter into the garden, but don't be dressed as a king. You be dressed as a Vaishnava. You go there, and then you begin reciting the verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is dealing with the Rasa-lila. So I remember when Srila Prabhupada, it was the time before he passed away. It was during, I guess, the time of the Shravan Rasa Lila. There are two Purnimas, one month and then the next month, and they both deal with the Lord's Rasa Lila. So I believe it was on the first one. This may be, I don't know, September or something. And was with Srila Prabhupada. And the devotees wanted Prabhupada to recite the Srimad, they were recording as he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam. It was in his last days. But and I saw it was Rasa Lila. We didn't have the 10th canto then, but we had the Krishna book. And the Krishna book has all the chapters of the 10th canto. So I began reading to Srila Prabhupada all about the Rasa Lila from the Krishna book. And sometimes, quite often he would be listening, and then sometime apparently he dozed and was resting, and then he woke up and listening. And afterwards some of the devotees said, "Why do you do that? We want Srila Prabhupada to read the Srimad, dictate the Srimad Bhagavatam." I said, "Okay, but this day is special." And he liked it. Yeah. So anyway, this might. Those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers. Burida, bole, korea lingan, ihoj nahi jane, ihon hoi kunjan. After reciting this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately embraced the king and cried, "You are the most munificent, you are the most munificent." At this point, Mahaprabhu did not know who the king was. And it's true, it says, Mahaprabhu, he is in a state of ecstasy. He doesn't know that he's the king, apparently. But after all this happened, Mahaprabhu never said anymore, "I won't meet with the king." After that, there was no, "I'm not going to meet with the king," even though he didn't know who it was. But I don't know whether he was informed or not informed, but he knew, he knew. But after that, when Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindaban, he stopped at the king's palace and met with him there. So, yeah. And then in that chapter, when it says after that time, Maharaj Prataparudra was known by two different names, meaning who was favored by Mahaprabhu. So this meeting, even though it says at this point Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not know who the king was, but afterwards I'm sure he found out. But even if he didn't know, but this is really the turning point. After this, there's no talk about going to meet with the king, because he had met with him. Purva Seva Deki Tare Kripa Upajila Anusandana Bina Kripa Prasada Korila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy was aroused because of the king's previous service. Therefore, without even asking who he was, the Lord immediately bestowed his mercy upon him. So the previous service was that the king had, with a broom with a golden handle, and swept the streets before the Ratha Yatra. That was showing, this is what is expected of someone who's in a high position to serve the Lord, and he is sweeping the streets. And Mahaprabhu was very much appreciated that service of the king. So it says, therefore, without even asking who, Mahaprabhu's mercy was aroused because of the king's previous service. Therefore, without even asking who he was, the Lord immediately bestowed his mercy upon him. Edeka Chaitanyara Kripa Mahabal Tara Anusandana Bina Koraya Safal. How powerful is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without even inquiring about the king, the Lord made everything successful. Prabhu bole ke tumi korilam morahita arambite ashi piyao Krishna lilamrita. Finally, Mahaprabhu said, "Who are you? You have done so much for me. All of a sudden you have come here and made me drink the nectar of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Rajakohe amitomar dasher anudash brityera brityakora e mora ash." The king replied, "My lord, I am the most obedient servant of your servants. It is my ambition that you will accept me as the servant of your servants." So he uses the terms here. Dash anudash, I'm the servant of your servant. And a brityera britya. Brityera britya is more or less, it's the same thing. It's also brityera britya. The king replied, "My lord, I am the most obedient servant of your servants. It is my ambition that you will accept me as the servant of your servants." The greatest achievement for a devotee is to become a servant of the servants of the Lord. Actually, no one should desire to become the direct servant of the Lord. That is not a very good idea. When Prahlad Maharaj was offered a benediction by Nrsingadev, Prahlad rejected all kinds of material benedictions, but he prayed to become the servant of the servants of the Lord. When Dhruva Maharaj was offered a benediction by Kubera, the treasurer of the demigods, Dhruva could have asked for an unlimited material opulence, but he simply asked for the benediction of becoming the servant of the servants of the Lord. Golovecha Sridhar was a very poor man. He lived by selling bananas. Golovecha Sridhar was a very poor man, but when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to give him a benediction, he also prayed to the Lord to be allowed to remain a servant of the servants of the Lord. The conclusion is that being the servant of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest benediction one can desire. Now, Dhruva Maharaj, he just asked this, to become the servant of the servants of the Lord. But originally what had happened, he was just a small boy, maybe 5 years old. And one time he, his father was the king, and Prahlad Maharaj wanted to sit on the lap of the king, but one of the king's other wives was very proud. She says, "I'm the principal queen. You don't have a right to sit on the lap of the king. Only my son has that right." So then Dhruva, he's a Kshatriya. He's the son of the king. That means Kshatriya. Kshatriyas are very proud. They won't tolerate any kind of offense. So then Dhruva went to his mother. I think her name is Suniti. And he said to her, "What can I do? This is intolerable." And she said, "I can't help you because I'm not the king's favorite wife, so there's nothing I can do." And then Dhruva said, "Then who can?" And she said, "Well, they say the sages in the forest, maybe them." And then Dhruva, although he's only 5 years old, he went to the forest by himself. And there he's meditating, and he becomes very, very powerful. And he meets, first he meets Narada Muni. He meets Narada Muni, and Narada Muni tells him, "Well, you're a small boy, you should go back home. The forest is no place for you." Then Dhruva said, "So either help me or don't help me, but if you don't help me, please just get out of my way." So then Narada Muni saw he was very determined, and he helped him, and then Dhruva began meditating, and he became very realized. And then one time he's meditating on the Lord and with his half-closed eyes, and then he sees the Lord in his meditation, and then very suddenly the Lord disappears, and Dhruva is shocked by that, and he opens his eyes, and there's the Lord standing before him.
Was he like holding his breath before?
What?
Was he like holding his breath for a really long time before Narad-Muni came?
No, he's a very young boy. He's a very young boy, like 5 years old. He's not. And then, but he becomes, after Narad Muni's instruction, he became very powerful. He's meditating. Like I said, he meditated. Then the Lord says, appeared to him and tells him, Dhruva, you ask some benediction from me. And Dhruva says, I just wish to become the servant of the servants. But even though he didn't ask, the Lord knew what he wanted. So then the Lord gave him as his kingdom the pole star. The pole star is the North Pole. What? No, the pole star is, what is it?
The North Star.
North Star, yeah, the North Star.
It's Jugalok.
Yeah, Jugalok, yeah. And the Lord gave him. Tabe Mahaprabhu Tare Aishwarya, and that was a kingdom better than his brothers. Tabe Mahaprabhu Tare Aishwarya Dekaila Korehana Kohibe E Nisheda Korila. At that time, Mahaprabhu displayed some of his divine opulences to the king, and he forbade him to disclose this to anyone. So Mahaprabhu reveals himself to the king. Rajahena Jnana Kabuna Koila Prakash Antare Sakala Janin Bahira Udas. Although within his heart Mahaprabhu knew everything that was happening, externally he did not disclose it. Nor did he disclose that he knew he was talking with Maharaj Prataparudra. Prataparudra Bhagyadeki Bhaktagane Rajare Prashamshe Sabe Anandita Mane. Seeing the Lord's special mercy upon King Prataparudra, the devotees praised the king's good fortune, and their minds became open and blissful. Dandava Kore Raja Bahire Chalila Jodahasta Kore Sava Bhaktera Bandila. Submissively offering prayers to the devotees with folded hands and offering obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the king went outside. He went outside the garden. Madhyana Korila Prabhu Loya Bhaktagan Vaninatha Prashara Loya Koila Agaman. After this, Vaninath Rai brought all kinds of prasadam, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted lunch with the devotees. Sarvabhauma Ramananda Vaninatha Dhiya Prasada Patala Raja Bahuta Korea. The king also sent a large quantity of prasadam through Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Ramananda Rai and Vaninath Rai. Balagandi Bogera Prasada Uttamananta Nisakade Prasada Aila Janarnahi Anta. The prasadam sent by the king had been offered to the Balaganji festival. No, the prasadam sent by the king had been offered at the Balagandi festival, where they stop and there's offerings to the Lord during the Rath Yatra. The prasadam sent by the king had been offered at the Balagandi festival and included uncooked milk products and fruits. It was all of the finest quality, and there was no end to the variety. Chanapaya Paida Amra Narikela Kanta Nanabida Karalaka Arabija Tal. There were curd, fruit juice, coconut, mango, dried coconut, jackfruit, various kinds of bananas, and palm fruit seeds. Naranga Cholanga Taba Kamala Bijapur Badama, Chohara, Draka, Pinga, Karajur. There were also oranges, grapefruit, tangerines, almonds, dried fruit, raisins, and dates. Manohara Ladu Adi, Shateka Prakar, Amrita Gutika Adi, Kirasa Apar. There were hundreds of different types of sweetmeats like Manohara Ladu, sweets like Amrita Gutika, and various types of condensed milk. Amrita Manda, Sarvavati, Ara Kumda Kuri, Saramrita, Sarabhaja, Ara Sarapuri. There were also papayas and Sarabhati, a type of orange, and also crushed squash. There were also regular cream, fried cream, and a type of puri made with cream. Sarpuri. Harimalabha Senoti, Karpuram Malati, Dima Maricha Ladu, Nanvata Amriti. There were also the sweets known as Haribalabha, and sweets made of Senoti flowers, Karpur flowers, and Malati flowers. There were pomegranates, sweets made with black pepper, sweets made with fused sugar, and Amriti Jilipi. Amriti Jilipi, made with rice powder and chickpea flour, mixed with yogurt, fried in ghee, and immersed in sugar water. Yes, like that, we know what those are. Those jalebis. It's like a jalebi. It's like a jalebi where they have like what's like a big sock, but it's just a big bag with a little a little spout, a little hole there, and they squeeze it, and it comes out, and they cook it in hot ghee, and then put it in sugar water. And sometimes I think it was with Prabhupada or Gurudev, I don't know, but they would show how they make it, and when he's making it, he's wiggling his behind, like the guy who's making it. Padmachini, Chandrakanti, Kaja, Kandasar, Viari, Kadma, Tila, Kajar, Prakar. There were lotus flower sugar, a kind of bread made with urad dal. Crispy sweetmeats. What are those crispy sweetmeats? Kaja. Oh, that's kaja. Kaja, crispy sweetmeats. Sugar candy. Fried rice sweets. Sesame seed sweets and cookies made from sesame seeds. Naranga, Cholanga, Amra, Brikera, Akar, Fulafala, Patra Jukta, Kandera, Bikar. There were sugar candy sweetmeats formed into the shape of oranges, orange, lemon, and mango trees, and arranged with fruits, flowers, and leaves. I remember one time I was near Malaga in Spain, and they had all these fruits, which like oranges and lemons and different fruits, and they were all just made crystallized with sugar, and you could eat the whole thing. Like you made one with salt, you made some lemon salt. Well, this is done with sugar. Sugar, and the whole fruit becomes like crystallized, and you can eat the whole thing. It's
you
like
have to boil it over and over again in sugar water and let it keep drying, and boil it again and dry.
That was very tasty. Dadi dugda nani takra rasala shikarani salavana mugda kura adakani kani dari dugda nani takra rasala shikarani salavana mugda mudgan kura adi kani kani. There were yogurt, milk, buttermilk, fruit juice, a preparation made of fried yogurt and sugar candy, and salty moong dal sprouts with shredded ginger. See? Sometimes we eat those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Lembu kula arinana prakara achar likitena pare prashada kateka prakar. There were also various types of pickles, lemon pickle, berry pickle, and so on. Just like you made those pickles. There were various types of pickles, lemon pickle, berry pickle, and so on. Indeed, I am not able to describe the varieties of food offered to Lord Jagannath. And sometimes I would take these. It was made by an Ayurvedic company, but it was dried ginger that was dried with, it was like salt, and it was like almost like sticks or like the bark of tree, and it was a digestive aid, and you could eat that. It was so good. We've had ginger made with sugar, but this was made with salt. It was really nice.
And you live here in America?
Huh?
You live here?
No, it was in India.
Oh.
It was made by Ayurvedic company from Dhaka. There's a famous Ayurvedic company from Dhaka. Forget the name, but they're very famous. Prashade Purita Hoila Arda Upavan Dekiya Santosha Hoila Mahaprabhu Man. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw half the garden filled with a variety of prasadam, he was very satisfied. Emata Jagannath Korana Bojan, E Suke Mahaprabhu Judayanayan. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was fully satisfied just to see how Lord Jagannath accepted all the food. Keya Patra Droni Aila Boja Panchashat Ekek Jani Dasha Dona Dila Etapad. Then there arrived 5 or 7 loads of plates made of the leaves of the ketaki tree. Each man was supplied 10 of these plates, and in this way the leaf plates were distributed. So they distributed to 10 different persons, giving everybody a leaf plate. And we remember all the time that when we first got to India, there was always, at any festival, there was always leaf plates. And the leaf plates were, the leaves of the leaf plate, they're all sewn together. They're sewn together with little tiny sticks or twigs, like half the size of a toothpick, and they go in and out, and they connect all the plates to get all the leaves together with these little toothpicks. And then they bring stacks of these leaf plates and they distribute them to everyone, and that's what you would take your prasadam on. And then after you ate, you would throw the leaf plate in a pile. So then you could see that those kind of leaf plates are completely, biodegradable. Yeah. Keya Patra Droni Aila, Boja Panchashat, Ek Jani Dasha, Dona Dila Etapad. There then arrived 5 or 7 loads of plates, I read this, made of the leaves of the ketaki tree. Each man was supplied 10 of these plates, and in this way the leaf plates were distributed. Kirtaniyar Parishrama Jane Gora Rai Tasabare Kaul Jaite Prabhu Nanadai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood the labor of all the kirtan chanters. Therefore, he was very eager to feed them sumptuously, because everyone was exhausted. They were Panti Panti Kori Bhakta Gane Basaila Pariveshan Korivare Apane Lagila. All the devotees sat down in lines, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally began to distribute the prasadam. Prabhu na kaile kehona korebojan, Swarup gosai tabe kaila nibedan. But all the devotees would not accept the prasadam until Mahaprabhu took it. Swarup Damodar informed the Lord of this. Apane Vaisya Prabhu Bojana Korite Tumina Kaile Kehona Pare Kaite. Swarup Damodar said, My Lord, please sit down to eat. No one will eat until you do. Tabe Mahaprabhu Vaisya Nijagana Loya Bojana Koraila Sabare Akanda Puriya. At that time Mahaprabhu sat down with his personal associates and had every one of them fed very sumptuously until they were filled to the necks. Bojana Kori Vasila Prabhu Koriya Chaman Prasad Ubarila Kaya Sahasrekajan. After finishing, the Lord washed his mouth and sat down. There was so much extra prasadam that it was distributed to thousands, because there's so many people at Ratha Yatra. Prabhura Agyaya Govinda Dina Hina Jane Diki Kangala Ane Koraya Bojane. Following the orders of Mahaprabhu, Govinda, his personal servant, called for all the poor beggars who were unhappy due to their poverty and fed them sumptuously. Kangalera Bojana Ranga Deke Gora Hari Hari Bo Bole Tare Upadesha Kori. Observing the beggars eating prasadam, Mahaprabhu chanted Hari Bo and instructed them to chant the holy name. Hari Bo Bole Ganga Preme Bashijai Aichana Adbhuta Lila Kore Gorarai. As soon as the beggars chanted the holy name Hari Bol, they were immediately absorbed in ecstatic love of Godhead. In this way, Mahaprabhu performed wonderful pastimes. So in Navadip, the poor people who live there, they know every single festival of the month. And whenever there's a festival, they're always there. Thousands of people. And they sit down on the ground and they distribute leaf plates and they feed them all. Usually they feed them all khichdi. They usually serve them khichdi and dessert. Khichdi and some dessert like this. And some, khichdi and some sweet, and then something with the khichdi, maybe a vegetable also. But the beggars know every single festival. They know it ahead of time. Whenever there's a festival day, they're there. And then they sit in long lines, and somebody comes and distributes prasadam to all of them. And they come in the gates, and they have to wait their turn, like they wait at the gate, and then they'll let in several hundred people, as much as they can serve at the time. Then they'll close the gate, and then they'll feed all these people, and then the next wave of people come in, and then they feed them. And that's what a festival means, and they make so much of festival days. And I saw, when we were at Hapani, I saw Govinda Maharaj, and there's a big pot with a wood fire going, and he's cooking, and Govinda Maharaj threw in some of the spices, and then he takes a little out of it, puts it on his hand, he goes like this, and tastes it, and then he sees if it needs more or something, and then he goes back to stirring the pot. Ihan Janatera Rata Chalana Samoy Goda Sab Ratatane Agena Hijai. Outside the garden, when it was time to pull Jagannath's car, all the workers called Godas tried to pull it, but it would not move forward. Tanite na pare Goda Rata Charidila Patra Mitra Loya Raja Vyagra Hana Aila When the Godas saw they could not budge the car, they abandoned the attempt. Then the king arrived in great anxiety, and he was accompanied by his officers and friends. Mahamala Gane Dila Rata Chalaite Apane Lagila Rata Napare Danite. So this is all the time of Ratha Yatra. They stopped to rest and to take prasadam, and in the garden Mahaprabhu met with the king. Now they want to start the Ratha Yatra again to come to get to the Gundicha temple. But they can't move the car. The car won't move. Then the king comes, and first the Godas are very strong men. They try to pull the car, it won't move. Mahamalagane Dila Rata Chalaite Apane Lagila Rata Napare Tanite. When the Godas saw they could not budge the car, they abandoned the attempt, and the king arrived in great anxiety, and he was accompanied by his officers and friends. The king then arranged for big wrestlers to try to pull the car, and even the king himself joined in, but the car could not be moved. So big wrestlers came. Vyagrahoya ane raja mata hategan rata shalaite rate korila yojan. Becoming even more anxious to move the car, the king had very strong elephants brought forth and harnessed to it. Mata haste gana tane jara jatabo ekparana chale rata hoila acha. The strong elephants pulled with all their strength, but still the car remained at a standstill, not budging an inch. Shuni Mahaprabhu aila nijagana loya mata haste ratatane deke danaya. As soon as Mahaprabhu heard this news, he went there with all his personal associates. They then stood there and watched the elephants try to pull the car. Ankushara Gaya Haste Koraye Chitkar Rata Nahi Chale Loke Kore Hahakar. The elephants being beaten by by the elephant goad were crying, but still the car would not move. The assembled people cried out, "Alas!" Everyone, the elephants they're hitting with the elephant goads, but they can't move the car, and the people are crying out. Tavi Mahaprabhu sab haste guchaila nijagane rata kachi thani bare dila. At that time, Mahaprabhu let all the elephants go free and placed the car ropes in the hands of his own men. Apane ratera pache tele matadiya had kori rata chalila daya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the back of the car and began to push with his head. It was then that the car began to move and roll along, making a rattling sound. It says, hud kori, making a sound like hood. The car is moving. Mahaprabhu was pushing it from behind with his head. Bhaktagana kachik ate kori matradai apane chalila rata tanite napai. Indeed, the car began to move automatically, and the devotees simply carried the ropes in their hands. Since it was moving effortlessly, they did not need to pull it. Anande koraye lok jai jai dwani jai jagannatha bai aranahi shuni. When the car moved forward, everyone began to chant with great pleasure. Jai, Jai, all glories, and Jai Jagannath, all glories to Lord Jagannath. No one could hear anything else. Nimeshetai Gela Rata Gundichara Dwara Chaitanya Prataparudra Loke Chamatkara. In a moment the car reached the door of the Gundicha temple. Upon seeing the uncommon strength of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the people were struck with wonder. Jai Gaurachandra, Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Emata Kolahal, Loke Danya Danya. The crowd made tumultuous vibration, chanting, Jai Gaurachandra, Jai Krishna Chaitanya. Then all the people began to chant, they began to chant. Danya, Danya, began to chant like that. Danya, Danya, wonderful, wonderful. Dekiya Prataparudra Patra Mitra Sange Prabhura Mahima Deke Preme Fule Ange. Seeing the greatness of Mahaprabhu, Prataparudra Maharaj and his ministers and friends were so moved by ecstatic love that the hair on their bodies stood on end. Bandhu Vijay Tabe Kore Seva Kagane Jagannatha Basila Giya Nija Simasane. All the servants of Lord Jagannath then took him down from the car, and the Lord went to sit on his throne. So he's got to come to the Gundicha temple. They take the Jagannath down from the car and put him on his throne in the Gundicha temple.
Soon.
Huh?
Soon.
Yeah, I know. I'm always late for everything, so I'll just be a few minutes late. Subhadra Balaram Nija Simasane Aila Jagannath Enter Snana Boga Hoite Lagila. Subhadra and Balaram also sat on their respective thrones there, following the bathing of Lord Jagannath, and finally the offering. There followed the bathing of Lord Jagannath, and finally the offering of food. Anginate Mahaprabhu Loya Bhaktagan Anande Haramba Koila Nartana Kirtan. When Lord Jagannath, Lord Balaram, and Subhadra sat on their respective thrones, Mahaprabhu and his devotees began to perform Sankirtan with great pleasure, chanting and dancing in the yard of the temple. Okay. In the not mandir of the temple. Anande Mahaprabhu Prema Utalila Deki Sab Loka Prema Sagare Basila. While Mahaprabhu was chanting and dancing, he was overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and all the people who saw him were also flooded in the ocean of love of Godhead. Okay, I'm stopping here, setting up for my Zoom meeting. So I'm going to sing Hari Harai. Okay. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Manana Mohan Giridhari Gopinatha Manana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Janardan Srivas Hari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Janardan Srivas Hari Bhakta-vrinda, Swarup Sanatam Bhakta Raghunath, Swarup Sanatam Bhakta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Rasa Raghunath, Sri Jiva Bhakta Rasa Raghunath, H.I. Gosai Gauri Charana Bandhan, H.I. Gosai Gauri Charana Bandhan, Jahoite Vignana Shavista Puran, Jahoite Vignana Shavista Puran, H.I. Gosai Gauri, H.I. Gosai Jamui Tarandas, H.I. Gosai Jamui Tarandas, Tasava Padarenu Mora Panchagras, Tasava Padarenu Panchagras, Radha Chanana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas, Radha Chanana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas, Janame Janame More Ambilas, Janame Janame More Las, Ichai Gosai Jabe Brate Koilabas, Ichai Gosai Jabe Brate Koilabas, Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash, Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash, Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindaban, Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindaban, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narakamodas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narakamodas, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Jo Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Nehriya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Panamansa Paramajaka Ashtatara Sadasi Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Panamansa Paramajaka Ashtatara Sadasi Shimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishoredas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ragana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Ragana Shadgo Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsiko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Vishvavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. That's give me that phone. Dandavad. Buenos días. Estoy apenas terminando la clase de Chaitanya Charitamrita, ofreciendo las oraciones al final. Y después abro mi computadora y voy a comenzar con el programa con los devotos. ¿Ok? 5 minutos. ¿Dónde va? Ya.
Tiene que desayunar.
Ok. Yeah. Jai Samaveta. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad ki jai. Srila Bhakti Kushamasha Maharaj ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki.
Okay. Finish this. Okay.